How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Starve Together MODlight, in which I attempt to shed a little bit of light on some of the more interesting mods that have appeared on the Steam Workshop in the past week or so. To get started, we have a mod called Sorting System by Narmore. It is a mod that contains a sorting machine that is able to sort your items into the proper chests. So let's give it a look. Okay, here we are, and as you can see, the sorting machine has already been built. If you're interested in building one yourself, it is currently located in the structures menu. The sorting machine costs 1 gear, 2 planks, and 3 cut stone. 2 boards, I should say. And then there are 3 subsidiaries that work in conjunction with it, that being the sorting chest, the sorting equipment rack, and the sorting fridge. So how does this all work? Well, the general premise behind it is that you're going to be taking your items that you have scavenged, and you can stick them inside the chest. And then you tell it to sort it, and it will move it into one of these chests once it has finished. So now this has finished sorting. We open it up, you can see not all of the items currently have chests for them, but in this case, we definitely sorted out the seeds, and that should have gone into this refrigerator right here, and as you can see, it did. So how you convert each of these items is by right-clicking on them. Like if you see, whenever I hover over one of these chests, it says right-click to transform the chest. And I can, by transforming it, it will convert it into something else. Like this will store magical items. This will store turf. This will store like fuel. This will store wood, twigs, all that kind of stuff. And depending upon how you have them set up, that's where your items are going to be automatically allocated once you dump them all inside the sorting machine. In addition to the refrigerator and the regular sorting chests, we also have the weapon rack, which actually has a couple of different looks to it. So right now it has a pickaxe in it, so I'm gonna have to take that out before I can transform it. And now I should be able to transform it. There you can see, this is the weapon rack. This is, I believe, the armor rack. This is clothing rack, and then this is the tool rack. Overall, it is a very good idea, and I think it shows a lot of promise as a mod. Obviously, the graphics themselves are a little bit jarring, aside from the fridge. I think the fridge actually has a very good look that would not be too out of place in a Don't Starve universe, but these other assets, they clash a little bit, The thing is, even without the automatic sorting machine, just having chests with signs like these would be a huge benefit. Like I really didn't understand the reason why we couldn't have simply had it when you're creating a chest. Why not have skins that would indicate what is going to go in the chest? Having to go ahead and craft a little mini sign for it creates such a high barrier to entry that for the average base, it's never going to happen. So I think the automatic sorting system mod is probably one of the most interesting that I've seen this week. I think it could be improved a little bit more. There could be some more chest categories, for example. At the moment, the butterfly wings and the birch nuts don't get sorted into any particular refrigerator or anything like that, but it is a great step in the right direction and goes a long way towards the common problem of any sort of server where you're playing with people that you do not necessarily know, and they're dumping items they collect into random chests, which just makes it more difficult for whoever is managing the base. Okay, moving on. The next mod we're going to be taking a look at is called the Lazy Furnace. It's by Taikvesh, so I might be mispronouncing that, probably am. But the utility of the Lazy Furnace is that you can put raw food or burnable garbage into the scaled furnace and close it. Everything will be cooked automatically. So let's load that up and give it a try. So now for the Lazy Furnace mod to work, you're obviously going to need to build a scaled furnace first. And of course, this requires that you kill the dragonfly in a standard game of Don't Starve Together, because you're going to need the dragonfly scales. But once you've gone ahead, done that, and then built the scaled furnace, it performs much like the original version of the scaled furnace, but you can open it up like this. So it has a little inventory in it, and you can drop items into it. So for example, we could put some grass, some twigs, some seeds, and some flower petals in there, and then cook them. And it flares up just like that, and now we have a bunch of ashes and some toasted seeds. So this is a really quick way to go ahead and cook a whole bunch of raw meat, for example. You wouldn't have to be standing over the fireplace to do it all. It is also a way for you to convert logs into charcoal, which is pretty nice, so that way you don't have to be burning down trees. Okay, there we got some logs, put those in. a quick toasting, and it converted 20 logs into 6 charcoal. Now, I personally think this mod is more than balanced, considering the fact that the scaled furnace is certainly a later game item, and therefore it only makes sense that the later parts of the game should introduce certain mechanics that would make more tedious early game aspects of the game less tedious. So for example, in the beginning of the game, you might want to be focusing on eking out a survival, just building up the base, gradually getting access to more and better recipes and foods like that. But as you progress into day 200 or so, all of a sudden you are stabilized and you don't want to have to grind out and chop down 1,000 trees anymore. So you look for ways to automate certain systems like that. And there definitely are ways to do that. And I think this sort of is, the lazy furnace is just another one of those tools in that arsenal that makes sure that the later parts of the game are not overly tedious. And it adds some functionality to that, while at the same time having a barrier to entry that is more than fair. Okay, this next mod is actually a client mod, and it is called Fix for Too Many Items. Now, if you are at all active in the modding scene, if you pay any attention to it, you're probably familiar with the original Too Many Items mod. It basically created a graphical user interface which allowed you to sort of perform console commands simply by clicking on an icon. But one thing that happened is sometime in the last couple of weeks, the updates that Clay pushed to the game broke the original Too Many Items mod, and I was getting crashes, and I imagine other people were as well. So somebody by the name of the Mighty Pikachu went ahead and updated the original mod and fixed whatever problem was causing it to crash, so now that you can use it once again while you're in the game. For those of you who have never seen what Too Many Items does, you simply press T while you're in the game and you're given this sort of administrator panel. Up here you can search by clicking to type. So I could search for pig and click living things. There we go. Search. We have a pig man and a guard pig. And by clicking on that, I could spawn down a pig man. And as you can see right there, he is. He doesn't like the dark. In addition to simple commands like that, being able to spawn stuff into the world, you also have the ability to restore your health to 100%, sanity, hunger. You can turn God mode on and off with a simple click. Creative mode, which basically gives you everything that you can craft. You can rebirth yourself if you're killed. You can adjust your speed without having to use console commands. You can advance, like next day cycle, you can advance an entire day. You can advance 5 days. Look at that. I'm starving to death now. Overall, the Too Many Items mod is probably my favorite when it comes to just fooling around and Don't Starve Together and making adjustments, just testing out things. And I'm really glad to see that somebody had the know-how to go ahead and update the original so that it is now compatible, and that anybody who's interested can once again use it with the latest beta of Don't Starve Together. The next mod we're going to be taking a look at is called Weston the Wandering Cactus. If you played the original Don't Starve, you might be familiar with this character. I personally appreciate it because it is one of the more original ones. A lot of times the modded characters are simply pop culture references, and I think it is really nice and should be lauded when somebody takes the time and effort to create some original IP. And I believe Weston the Wandering Cactus is sort of the definition of such a thing. Now, this mod was originally created by Spookers the Spoo, but it was not compatible with Don't Starve Together. So another user by the name of Mighty Zero went ahead and did some tweaking with it and made it compatible with Don't Starve Together. So now you can also play as Weston the Wandering Cactus. Lastly, we have a small client mod called 90 Degrees. It was created by Unknown Zombie, and it simply changes the camera to rotate at 90 degrees instead of 45. Now, I have had this mod bug out when using other mods before, but basically what it does is instead of having 45 degrees of rotation, the map rotates 90 degrees each time. So if I was facing in this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4 will bring me around to that same position. So it basically cuts out half of the map rotation. I simply featured it because I found it interesting that they mentioned that in the old school Don't Starve behavior, that apparently this was a feature. I was not around for such a time. As long as I can remember, Don't Starve always had 8 points of rotation, and personally I prefer it that way given how I navigate the map, but this could be helpful to somebody who is perhaps looking for something a little bit simpler and doesn't want to have to press the Q and E keys quite as much. So anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for this week in terms of the Don't Starve Together MODlight. Next week and the week after, I'm planning something a little bit different. Hopefully it's going to be focusing a little bit more on themed mods. All the links to the mods that I've featured in here will be in the description below this video, so go ahead and check them out. If you happen to like any of the ones that you tried out, be sure to thank the author for taking the time to create it. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, as always, and I hope to see you next time.